Hey family, Pastor Craig. Tomorrow, November 29th, is the first day of Advent this year. And there's going to be a couple of unique ways that we're going to offer you guys to celebrate. But before I get to that, I want to say this. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know that Thanksgiving this year was probably different for most of us as it was for my family. A couple of weeks ago, Psalm 136 kind of came up in my reading, and I've been kind of praying through that over the last week or so. It's got the familiar verse that repeats over and over again, and it says this. It says that give thanks. It says to give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. And then it goes on for about 25 verses. Each verse gives a different characteristic or an attribute or an action of God that proves his enduring, steadfast love. And you probably, like I, could list out at least 25 ways that we've experienced the steadfast love of God over the course of our lives as believers. Even before we believed, I can see how God had his hand on me, as I'm sure you can too. And so that's the first thing. I just pray that you've been able to experience this good, steadfast love of God because he is in this with us, individually and collectively as a church, leading us, guiding us, and proving his love over and over again. But as I said, tomorrow is the first Sunday of Advent, and so we'll have our normal Advent reading. We will light an Advent candle, and we'll have a wreath each week. Whether we do this virtually or in person or both, we'll still do that. But there's a couple of ways in particular that we're going to give you an opportunity to engage Advent. One is through the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. We did this last year and mentioned it in the newsletter a couple of weeks ago. You may have seen that. The Lottie Moon Christmas offering is an international offering. Believers around the world give to this particular offering. And the cool thing about it is that 100% of your giving, whether it's $5 or $50 or something in between, but 100% of that goes towards the international mission field. They don't take off administration fees or any incidentals. It all goes to international missions. If you're not familiar with Lottie Moon, I encourage you to Google Lottie Moon. She's a young woman who went on the international mission field years ago, and it's named after her. So that's the first way. But the second thing is, beginning tomorrow and for the next 8 days, you will receive an email from the church. And the email will remind you of the offering, and they'll have a link to where you can give. But what's neat is for the next 8 days, we're going to be engaging in what's called a great multitude and you. Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, John writes this. He says, "After I looked, behold, I saw a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, with palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, 'Salvation belongs to our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb.'" Guys, one day we will be with the multitudes, and we will be praying and singing praises to our God, and 2020 will be in our rearview mirror, and God will have renewed all things, and all things will be put in their right perspective, and we will rejoice in that. And I look forward to that day more and more every day that I live. But before we get to that day, we get to engage in things like giving sacrificially for missions, but also giving of our time and praying. And so each day for the next 8 days, you will receive an email from the church, and it will include a couple of things. It'll have a devotional from myself or Pastor Sam, where we will take you through a particular prayer ministry or people group to pray for. There'll be prayer prompts for that particular group or ministry. There will be a link to download a prayer guide that you can follow along with. And there'll be a video that will link to about a 5-minute video that shows each day a little bit fuller picture of what that group is all about and why they need our prayer. This will all culminate on December 7th, which is a Monday evening, where we'll send out a link to a Zoom code that we will be able to pray together as a church, reflect on the last 8 days, pray collectively for these people and people groups and ministries, as well as however else God has stirred your heart for missions. And so we look forward to that on December 7th, but be looking for that email tomorrow. If you have a family, I encourage you to gather your children around to watch the video and pray together through these prayer prompts. It's a wonderful way to celebrate Advent as we look forward to the coming of Jesus Christ on Christmas Day, and we celebrate that wonderful, wonderful thing. And so I look forward to doing this with all of you. Be looking for the email beginning tomorrow morning, and let's engage this together. Love you guys. Continue to pray for you guys, and we look forward to when we can gather once again in person, all of us. We'll see you later.